right, family. Good day. I hope that you and yours are absolutely well in your entire body, in your ecosystem. Welcome to Brave Voices in Education, the podcast where boldness meets brilliance and healing meets hustle. I'm Craig Aarons Martin, educator, advocate, and believer that our stories are sacred tools for change. Listen to today's episodes for anyone who's ever felt like they had to carry it all, to be strong for everybody else. But inside, they wonder, maybe you wonder, but who's carrying me? See, that's that feeling. Sometimes that feeling is a barrier. It isolates us, it wears us down. But today we're going to break through it together because braving isn't about being invincible, it's about being real, even when the world wants you to be bulletproof. And to help us break that barrier today, I'm excited about Dr. Keisha Chandler, who happens to be an incredibly brilliant queen. Backbone and heart for liberation come together. Right now, she's the managing director of partner success at ASCD, where she's helping school systems not just talk about equity, but actually build it, live it, and be about it. She taught K-12 across urban districts around the country. She's earned a doctorate of education from Northeastern, which is in my backyard here in Boston, in training and organizational development. She's not just leading, y'all. She's teaching, writing, speaking, coaching, building. She's been a DC Education Policy Fellow. She's an adjunct professor at Trinity Washington University. She's published her scholarship in Journal for Research on African American Women and the ProQuest database, making sure Black women's brilliance is documented, cited, and remembered. But what I love most about Keisha is not just that she's done, it's how, it's not just what she's done, it's how she's shown up with clarity, with care, with an unshakable belief that our schools and our kids deserve better. So today we're giving her all of her flowers, her stage, and this mic. Keisha, welcome to Brave Voices. Let's
Thank
start
you.
here. Who are you
Thank
becoming
you.
right now? And what might be a defining moment that has shaped you as a leader today?
Mm. You didn't have to start that deep, but thank you. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. That's a deep question on this good Sunday, but thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity for lifting the voice and for telling the story. And it's so funny that you started the word with story because I do believe stories are how we get to the next point in life and to bring the next generation to where we are. It's stories that have gotten to me to where I am now, to this point of my leadership. Is the stories from the legacies behind me that have gotten me to this place. It's the stories I remember that give me the drive to even push me to get out the bed, to
Mm,
make me want to be greater. Um, I was raised in Philadelphia.
hey,
Um, I'm
Billy.
Philly all day, the Philadelphia 215. And it's not that gritty story. It is the story of two parents from the segregated South. Right. So when I hear all this conversation about race and segregation, we're so far removed. We're not. My parents went to a segregated school in the South where their high school was not desegregated until 1970. And you know that's years after Brown versus Board of Ed. And I was born a few years later, so I'm not going to tell you my age, but I am over 50. So I'll just say that.
You don't look
So,
it. You don't look
ah,
it.
thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank you. But I say that to say that going down south as a kid, King Street, South Carolina. So let me just say this: population 3,000. So with both parents both parents being from there, I'm literally related to half of the black side of King Street because there is two distinct sides. And I remember going to the train station in particular because the Amtrak train back, that's how most people travel down there. There literally was that two sides of that train station, the white side and the black side. And always seeing those stories and being very fearful and hearing about that the stories of racism and feeling very fearful of the South. And looking at that train station and now being able to go to the white side, but you see how well furnished the white side was. But where you would wait for the train would be what was called the colored side. And as a young child, you're looking at what segregation looks like or looked like, but then still seeing the disparities, right? So this is what I remember as a very young child. I'm talking like a child. At the time, and I'm going somewhere with this. At the time, I went to a Montessori school, and the Montessori principles um, is what created my genius
Mm.
because it gave me the freedom to learn how I wanted to learn without barriers.
Okay.
So I would honestly, if Montessori is taught the way it's supposed to be taught, with the tools and given Black children in particular the freedoms, I'm an advocate for that curriculum because it literally did not limit who I was. However, the teachers who taught me limited who I was because of my skin color. So it was my first instance of feeling racism in that Montessori setting because um, in that Montessori program, there wasn't an August to a June and you moved up based on your year. You moved up based when you were ready to move up and they would test you. So I remember being 7 in the 4th grade
Mm.
because that's how Montessori would move you when you were ready to move. But I had that teacher question my ability. So let me back up. So now I'm giving you two dichotomies. This South where I'm seeing it,
Yes.
but I'm feeling it in the North.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Seeing it, feeling it, and knowing something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward a few years, I'm transferred to a public school. And I went to, my parents raised me again in Philadelphia, but a well to do area in Philadelphia. So I went to school in what's known as Chestnut Hill. And this is where I lose my Philly cred because they're like, Chestnut Hill, you're not from down north. Why do you say North Philly is down north? But that's just a Philly thing. Down
Oh,
north
gotcha.
or West Philly or whatever. I lose my street cred because they call Mount Airy up uptown, whatever. They
Mm.
say we're not real Philly, but it's Philly. Okay. Nonetheless, I went to school with, a couple of my classmates. Their father might have been in the Temptations. I went to school with Harold Melvin's kids, whatever. Like, okay, we had some, whatever. However, it was going to that school where I would have been 9 in the 6th grade, but the principal felt the need to make me repeat 5th grade. But that was okay.
Mm.
For me, I felt offended at the time, but it was there where I realized I want to be a teacher because my teachers saw my brilliance and not made me, but they asked me to help out the students. And in me helping out the students, it's where I actually, in my head, I thought I was designing lessons because I needed to help design something for I needed to be this teacher for my friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was designing my own little leadership right there and then.
Okay.
And then that's when they started putting in me in my gifted classes.
Mm.
But I had my first Black teacher in my gifted class.
Okay.
So it was there where I was like, hey, this is a thing of excellence. And
Mm.
I would go, and it happened to be my aunt's neighbor too.
Okay.
Right. So it was all these things like just piling up. And I remember going home and saying to my mom, I have this really cool Black teacher who happens to be Aunt so and so's neighbor. And my mom was like, yeah, we had all Black teachers. And I'm like, what do you mean you had all Black teachers?
Right.
Tell me
Right.
more.
Yes.
And then just hearing the stories of not feeling this separate thing and feeling attacked or feeling questioned and feeling judged. And I was like, all students should experience that. But then also, all students should feel the creativeness that I had from the Montessori school and this experience. And why does your brain work different? Why do I have to work with this student to get them to feel? So that was my drive and passion for wanting to show, like, mix all my worlds together. And it's how I got here today and why I always want to pour into everyone and give everyone my experience. But I also think about the child that I serve today. And when I say I'm not in a traditional classroom today, but I always go back to think about all of the children I've served from all of the school districts I've ever worked in or interacted with in whatever manner, in whatever part of the world that I was in. Every day I wake up, I think about children. And I think that's how all adults, because adults suck. I'm going to tell you that right now. The adults suck. But if we do not start wrapping our heads around the children that we serve, this is where I feel like education is starting to get lost. And now I see how we got in the pickle that we're in because of the policies that we keep creating. We're not doing this in such a children centric way. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Uh,
you just took me
y-
back on a journey. Like, what? It's been on my mind.
Yes, yes. I and I look, I appreciate the fact that you bridged I'm from the South as well, from New Orleans, Louisiana. A lot of what you shared resonates for me because it's interesting. Fifth grade was the grade where I had been honor roll, gifted, all of things, all the way up to that moment. And I had a new teacher who she was new to the community. And for those who don't know, I went to a Catholic school. So I actually was Catholic educated for the first 5-6 years of my life. And so what I experienced in being out othered. So my genius and my brilliance, because I was like, if you asked me to do something, I did what you asked. I did it. I tried to do it with integrity and excellence because that's what my parents have poured into me and sowed into me in regards to how I show up in the world. But that teacher unfortunately didn't recognize that and I don't believe she had the skills or the tools in order to meet me where I was, as well as some of the other wonderful young people who I was in classes with, who I still see on Facebook and see where their journeys are today. But I can tell you that the defining moment in fifth grade was the reason why I was like, I'll never let children go through what I went through. And that was fortified in that year because I spent probably 3 months of my education in fifth grade outside of the classroom. The teacher literally moved my desk outside the door. So imagine you
Mm,
got your patio outside and you walk out the door to your patio. Imagine that my desk was there every day until my mother showed up. And my mother showed up and her wonderful New Orleans way Black Power movement coming, with a fro. And she was like, and the first thing she said was, "What did you do?" So it wasn't even, I was like, "What do you mean? What did you do?" So my mom was like, "Something ain't right. I'm just gonna drop by." And I didn't know that my mom was coming. And so she walked up because it's an open community where that's our church community. Everyone knows everybody.
right.
So it wasn't a thing, but it was something pivotal for her to say, "All right, I'm coming and let me check in on the kids," because it was me. I think my brother and my sister were all in the school together. And she came up the stairs and then she saw me. She asked me what I did wrong. I'm like, "I didn't do anything wrong. You can see I got work on my desk." She's looking at my desk like, "What?" There's got to be something. There's got to be a reason. And when she saw that my work was done, it's sitting in the folder in the desk. I'm doing the thing. She reads what I'm doing. She walks into the classroom, and the teacher and her had a conversation. What I will say is, I never had another moment out there after that.
But
But
3 months later,
yes, yes. Yes. So it was very much like it was a driver for me. So
mm,
I will tell you honestly, I am still at times in therapy. And I bring that 10-year-old, that 11-year-old Craig with me to therapy to make sure he gets to be whole and that he no longer is a main player in some of the conversations and interactions I had. And so I'm curious for you, as you experience that fifth grade moment for yourself, like what did that moment foreshadow for you as you look at where you are today? Do you feel like that fifth grade Keisha was made whole at some point? And if so, where did you actually get the type of healing or intervention or support
mm,
you needed in order for you to find yourself where you are today?
I'm still working on that now, right? So every day, I still have those moments. I will say very early on, I learned how to speak up for myself. So, I have felt when something feels off for a very long time. And I, for the longest, never said anything. So I remember being in high school. Remember, I started high school at 12. So imagine being super young, but you don't want to be young and not speak up for yourself. So I always spoke up for myself. But sometimes that speaking up for yourself causes you to be loud and brash. So I've always been, you're going to see me before anything else. You're going to hear me before anything else. So I've learned to kind of, kind of lay back, and I keep on mind, kind of. You can call it aggressive. You can call it loud black. When you call it whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to speak up for the least of these.
Okay.
That'll always be. And when I say the least of these, that is speaking up for fifth grade Keisha, or that 7-year old who has felt
Mm-hmm.
that something was off.
Hmm.
Anytime I feel something is off for myself, for others, I'm going to speak up against it, or just speak up when it feels off. And that's called intuition. Or if you know that I serve a higher power, I'm speaking up when that Holy Ghost tells me something's off. So
Oh.
since it's Sunday and it's a sermon for me, if something just doesn't hit, if it ain't sitting right, I have to say something, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's something I battle with now on how to say it, because sometimes cussing kills confusion. So if a low cuss slips out, B, what did you say? Oh, ooh,
Yep.
ooh,
Yep. Yep.
right? So, or
Mm.
professionally speaking,
Yes.
sometimes you got to ask ChatGPT, fix this up for me.
Look.
I have literally typed in,
Mm-hmm.
you got me effed up.
Yes.
ChatGPT, fix this for me.
That's the cheat code, right? That's the cheat code. Look, I understand that. I understand it. It's interesting, and very serendipitous. This morning, my devotional was Psalm 118. It says the I'm trying to think, it says like the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it's marvelous in his eyes. And so as I was sitting there really processing like the state of where we are, the intersections of disruption that are happening across our country and the globe. The globe is feeling
Mm.
this. Like it's not just us. And when I think about what people want me to believe or what narratives they want us to carry, that we are part of a scrap pile, but we've been the cornerstone of why this country exists, right? The capital would not be here if it wasn't for us, right?
We were the capital,
I'm just hello, that part, that part.
which is why I'll tell you this. I'll be very honest. There are so many people rattled.
Hmm.
This is probably the most comfortable I've ever felt.
And what has you at comfort? Because you're not the only person I have heard, especially Black folks. Because I had an opportunity to talk to some elders from Thanksgiving right after, or it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was like right after, the election, and we had the results. And I was asking them, they're in their 70s and 80s, and I'm like loved up on the sofa, peace of mind, eating food and being merry. And I'm just like, what is still what how is your spirit still? And so I'm curious for you, what brings peace in this moment?
Faith,
Hmm.
number one. Number one.
Hmm.
Um, the joy in knowing that our people have a resilience in a moment of strife and confusion. First of all, again, going back to faith, God doesn't reside in confusion and chaos. So none of this is of him. So while everybody else is la,
Yes.
what do we see? We see the trail dances. We see joy. We see those boots on the ground. I got my fan.
Right.
I'm doing all the things that
So
bring me joy,
yeah.
right? I am not tuned in to the news real heavy. I read it in the morning. I
Hmm.
read it at night. I don't open up my little retirement plan because it is what it is.
Hmm.
My parents are still around. They're here. They both have dementia, but they're here. And I remember when the recession hit in '08, and my father has a pretty heavy stock portfolio. And I remember he took a huge hit. And I was like, oh, good Lord. He said, oh, it'll come back.
Hmm. Hmm.
And although he cannot speak today, because if he could, I know he would have choice words. I remember that moment of him saying, it'll come back.
Hmm.
It'll be all right. And then on the flip side, my mother, who I just went to visit last week, she would always reference the great Bob Marley,
Mm,
Three Little Birds,
yeah.
every little thing is going to be all right. Right. So I put that tune on every now and then. Right. It don't have to be a good gospel hit, but that for me, that all is well.
Hmm.
Even when it doesn't feel well. Those are the things that it has to, because physically I have been attacked with so many other things, worry about so many other things. We only have one life to live, and why waste it on 1600? And I live in the DMV right now. I see a protest every 5 minutes. This battle is truly not mine, because guess what? Those babies in the chairs, again, I got to bring it back to the students.
Right.
Those babies in the chairs didn't have this choice. We messed this up as adults. We made this choice happen for them. Yes, we have to fix it, but me as an individual can't do it. And the collective that I see, these young folks, this Gen Z, the Alpha generation, what are we going to do to empower them to put the power back in their hands? Because we're as my daughter says, I have a 25-year-old, and lately because of all these deaths that have been happening, she says people are leaving on left and the right. What are you doing to get your life together? This is what
Oh,
she asked me.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
And how does one respond?
Well, first of all, my 25-year-old has been 99 for a long time.
Been here before.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yes. So with that, that's just what gives me my peace. Just knowing that I have this finite time. And with my finite timeline, some things are out of my control, but the time I have, I'm gonna do the things that bring me joy
Yes.
with my limited time, limited resource on podcasts like this, talking to you,
Hey,
making the impact that I can.
that is powerful. That is powerful. And I'm curious for you for it's incredible to know you have a matriarch and a patriarch who modeled an example for you of what resilience, radical joy, unprecedented stillness, right, and peace comes with. This is just another version of a thing we've seen before, right? And so I'm curious because you brought up your daughter, you bring up Gen Z, Gen Alpha right now, who are looking at this. And early, after we got the news, and some of the news lines right now are like, there's a level of disillusionment and disengagement, right? There, I know folks have looked at me and like, Craig, I don't see you out at the march and at the rallies and doing this and all of that. And I'm like, well, for me, I'll speak for. I'm like, I did the fundraising, I did the campaigning, you know I had the conversations, I tried to continue to promote and connect, uplift, and I was part of the 78-79% of Black men who actually voted for
Hmm.
what I thought and still believe is civility in the
Hmm.
United States. I'm not saying that in voting for Vice President Kamala Harris that was going to solve all the problems we have, but I honestly did not. I already saw what the alternative was, which is where we are, this parallel universe where everybody is all of a sudden feeling like, oh my God, I just can't believe this. But what I'm seeing is for I'll speak for the many of the Black folks I'm seeing. Not I can't speak for. I'm not generalizing across the Black diaspora, but I can say that for some of us, it's like, okay, we've done our work, and we're gonna sit down and we're gonna see what y'all gonna do. Because if you were a white woman, you're a white man. We are where we are because you thought that was the choice. And again, I'm not generalizing saying all white men and all white women, but I'm like we have to we have to speak truth to power, right? And so
Exactly.
I'm still curious for you. What would be your words? What are your words to educators who are looking to you and in concert with you in the many ways that you're working across not just ASCD, which is an international global, organization, but also in the university or universities where you serve, in your peer group or friend group when folks are really like, "Hey, Keisha, can you like you just are too calm for this." What would be your what is your advice? What would be the recipe for stepping into this bravely or braver for them? Because I'm curious whether or not they think that just because we might be enjoying the line dancing, going to the Beyonce concerts, going to the Kendrick Lamar concerts, taking our walks, meditating, and still socializing as normal, that we are not concerned about the well being of ourselves, as people of color who are, you know, facing what we're facing.
So I don't want to say we're not doing anything because we absolutely are. I do actually read all of the law briefs because there are a lot of legal, on the legal side. There is a win almost every day against some of these executive orders in particular. There's a win almost every day. So I follow the ACLU heavily and a lot of the legal side. So I'm watching the wins. There are a few losses as well. So that brings me joy when I've become this lawyer overnight, internet lawyer, just like
Okay.
I'm an internet doctor every other day
I'm like,
too.
you getting a JD? Are you? I'm like, are you
Yes,
telling me you getting a JD and we ain't talking about it?
I mean, I mean,
Mm.
law school has been on the deck for a minute though, so don't be surprised. And I want to buy a funeral home. That's a whole different story. I know it's yeah. We might need to set up part two and part three. That's a whole difference.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Yeah,
huh? Let's talk about that.
yeah, yes.
I
Um,
saw the Jamie Foxx film, the Bureau.
yes, yes. So, um, legally, that is where I feel good when I see some of these challenges, right? The NAACP just had a huge win, and you could see their brief on their page that uh, the one around teacher certification. That was a huge one because my research was actually on the retention of Black teachers in their first to fifth year. And so that was one I was closely following. I just had a call last week with Bahrain, and the gentleman said one of the issues that he wanted professional learning with his teachers around that their teachers are stressing over social media and AI, and they can't get their students off the phones and disconnect. I said, well, do we want to pull them off or do we want to use it to engage students in instruction? Right? I said, because the same issues you're facing, we're facing over here, except for we're facing bigger issues. He said, I know, we laugh at you all. Right. So to know internationally, we're the joke.
Yeah,
It's embarrassing sometimes to get on these calls. And I had to laugh with him and say, can you come save me? I would have never in the past look for another country to run to. So I get joy actually interviewing for different international companies, international countries to come rescue me. I do have another group of international education leaders coming to the States to actually come and hear my perspective on where we are. Because, we merged, ASCD merged with ISD in 2023. So we have some ed tech and education leaders coming to speak with me in the middle of May, actually. And in that conversation, they want to hear too the perspective of what's happening. So that gives me joy just to give the hear the global perspective. Your question was how what's this thing
yeah.
look
So
like?
ultimately, what would you want to offer to another person who's listening to you right now, who is inspired by your journey, especially in your advocacy work, in your work in policy? You've done a lot of studies for women, Black women,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your research, and so for those who are looking for a light in the midst of what
yeah.
appears to be this gray cloud that just doesn't seem to ever go, what would you offer?
Keep your focus, whatever that focus is for you. And for me, it's always going to be around children.
Hmm.
These children cannot advocate for themselves. They're not in the room able to speak for themselves. That's what I was going back to. If I'm in the room able to speak to these 15 countries, I'm speaking on behalf of all of the children I've served from Camden, New Jersey, to Philadelphia, to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to King Street, South Carolina, to wherever. I'm speaking on behalf of all of those children who don't have that voice.
Hmm.
Find that person. I'm speaking up for that fifth grade Craig that was in that hallway for 90 days. That was a 90-day sentence.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm speaking up for that child.
Mm. Mm.
That is what I say. Find that person. Stop. We got to stop being selfish about this thing. Yes, you have to take care of yourself. I'm not saying do not. Self care is, and I haven't done that well enough for myself. Recently, I've become better at that, right? And for me, that meant shutting down, saving time, eliminating some folks, getting very quiet and purposeful, right? And so some people probably think, oh, Keisha, where you been? Oh, Keisha's been here. Did I have to come off of Facebook? Absolutely, because I can't even imagine politics being on Facebook right now.
Yeah. It's.
And I'm glad I'm off, right? And I'm glad I'm off.
Hmm.
Instagram is enough for me, but Instagram is hilarious, so I don't mind that. But for me, I came off of Facebook. I have literally, remember T-Mobile Top Five?
Yes.
I've had to go down to the T-Mobile Top Five, and the people are no longer wasting my daytime minutes.
All right. Mm. Mm.
I've had to go back to that.
Hmm. That's a word.
hmm
That is a word. Hmm.
Yeah,
It
I've
is.
had to put myself on that plan.
Yes. Okay. For those who don't know what T5 is, could you just allow? I'm sorry. Like, it's a word. I know what it is. But if somebody's Gen Alpha or Gen Z, they're like, what is
Yeah,
T5? I've had unlimited all this time.
yeah, yeah. No, back in the day, you had to buy plans based on the minutes. You could buy 300 minutes,
Hmm.
500 minutes,
Yes.
700 minutes, and after your minutes ran out, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. So I have cut back my cell phone plan,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to treat it as if you no longer have unlimited. You have to cut back your access to people
Okay.
because people will drain your energy.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I shared this with you before we started this, but I'm a Gemini, and to
Mm-hmm.
Geminis, there are two sides of us. This very social person. People are used to fun quiche. Fun quiche is a lot.
Okay.
I could be in these streets, trust me. But people are very used to this very extroverted person.
Mm. Yeah.
But holy, I have been an introvert most of my life, and people who will watch this will laugh like, wait, what? Never. But I have been an introvert the majority of my life. It's now that I'm really embracing the introvert and becoming very quiet and loving all of my NCIS, FBI, on order SVU time.
Come on. Me too. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go do Scandal. I'm about to go through what, and you know what I miss? You remember when we were on, we'd be on Twitter, Facebook, and like we'd be live tweeting or live chatting.
Yes.
I miss that.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
it was regardless of whatever else was going on in the world. Those moments of just being on Twitter, like following a thing, and like, yo, did you see
Yes.
this? Like, I miss that, and so,
Before the anger,
ugh,
before the everyone was a politician. No, you're not. No, you're not. So yeah,
yeah,
I don't mind this time at all. And that's what brings me joy because it's me. I have never stared in the mirror so long. And I think when people start doing that too, if you can't look in the mirror at yourself for longer than 10 minutes,
yeah, yeah.
I challenge everyone to look in the mirror in your own eyes
Mm-hmm.
for 10 minutes.
Mm, mm,
10 whole minutes. Start a timer. And if you look away, what is that saying?
mm. I've done this exercise. I know what shows up for me. It's why I'm still in therapy. Right? Because look, we're still, I know I can't speak for anybody else. I'm speaking for me. I'm still doing the work of to undo the work of oppressors who told me all of these things. And now I'm having to reprogram myself because no one taught me. I love my parents. but my parents didn't model for me what it meant to stand 10 toes deep and loving absolutely every part of who you are. What they modeled was you pray, you work hard, you go to school, you do right by your family and your friends, you keep the faith, keep God first, and you keep moving. But no one modeled for me how to look at myself in the various ways that one can and love who I am. And so, like, I am still doing the work to embrace this thought of I am enough.
And you know what, Craig? Even after you've done that and after you've done all the work, sometimes it's the actions that we do to others
Mm-hmm.
that we need to come back and reflect on in that mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I want people to do. What have you done to others? Can you look yourself in the eye? And when I say others, that goes for adults
Mm-hmm.
and children.
Yes.
Go back and look in that mirror.
Mm. Mm. That's a word, and that's like a part two for the folks. Because I'm like, okay, well, you look, okay, let me pull my life together. Before I let you go, you already know what
Yeah.
time it is. I love some fun quiche time as well. I got this game called Brave or
Okay.
Not. The game where we just find out how bold you really are when it comes to pop
Mm,
culture, whether or not it gets real random, just ridiculous. So I'm
okay.
just gonna throw out a few this or that scenarios all tied to pop culture, and you just tell me which
Mm,
one you pick and if you actually did it or would do it. So
okay.
you the choice could be like, yeah, I feel brave enough, I have done it or would do it, or nah, I'm all set, Craig, on either. There's no judgment. There is no judgment. But the people
Okay.
might want to know where you stand on things. So I know, based on our last conversation, that you happen to be a Beyonce stan. So I'm just curious. Um, would you go to a Beyonce and Taylor Swift concert where they're co-headlining, or would you watch the Beyonce concert alone with friends at home? So would you go see it live, Beyonce and Taylor, or would you just watch like a repeat of Homecoming on Netflix?
Repeat homecoming. I want nothing to do with Taylor. Next. Go back. Look, I go back to On the Run 1 and 2.
Okay, okay. Look, I remember I was in Foxborough with J and B on the screen. It was truly amazing. I loved it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, me too.
Would you perform live on The Voice or compete on Dancing with the Stars?
Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, okay. You're a dancer.
I like to perform.
Okay,
Yeah. I
okay.
want a little shimmy.
Hey. Cool, cool. Okay. Would you drop your own rap verse on a next Dolce Adam or act in a Shonda Rhimes Netflix series?
Okay, so first of all, shout out to Dochi's management group. Shout out to
Yeah.
my daughter's high school friend who is her
Okay.
whole management team.
Yes.
So shout out to Dochi. No shade, Adam. But I'm gonna have to go with Shonda Rhimes scandal. So you see how that whole plug?
Yep.
I have to
Yep.
shout it. Yeah. So I can. Side note, I can go to any Dochi show I want,
Mm,
but I'm gonna have to go with Shonda
okay.
Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Now,
like to perform again.
what would
Give
be
me a stage.
what would
Oh,
be
what
your
would be my role? Mm. Again, I love mysteries, crime, murder. And then because I want to be a lawyer too, right? I could give me a gavel. So when I was on Facebook, I used to host Facebook court. Oh,
how did I not know this?
listen.
Okay.
If this people will call me like, can you please get back on Facebook? I have a case I need you to try. It was a thing. It was a thing. People would send me cases. I would do it so like no one would know who they were from because the way I would present it. It was a thing. It was a thing. But yeah, I'm over people. I'm over people. I might. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I did not.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. I got one
Mhm.
more. That's
Okay.
interesting. I'm like, we have to talk off loud about that. Would you walk a full New York Fashion Week runway with no modeling experience, or host the BET Awards live with no script?
BT.
Okay.
BT Live. Again, performance.
Hey,
I don't. Who needs a script? It's the vibes. I'm going for a vibe. See, that's
hey.
an extrovert. I told I can go in and out. Scripts. What script?
Yes. Okay. Love this, love this, love this. Okay. See,
Hmm.
this is why I love these conversations. Leadership, life is one thing, but life is where we really get tested. Before we log off, how can folks stay connected to you if you ever like decide you're gonna do a pseudo, a court show, how would they follow your journey, support your work or your walk? How would folks be connected to you?
Absolutely. Please find me on LinkedIn at, I think I'm just Keisha Chandler on LinkedIn. I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, I think I'm on LinkedIn. And then on Instagram, I'm Casey No Sunshine, like Casey and the Sunshine Band, but I'm
Yes.
Casey No Sunshine.
Okay. Hmm. That
Yeah,
was
Casey No Sunshine. Yes.
all right. We're gonna make sure we get all of that in. And we're gonna make sure it's in the show notes for folks so that you can stay connected. Uh Keisha, thank you so much for just being you, authentically you, and leaning in with us bravely. I'm so grateful that you joined me for this part
Thank
of the
you for
journey.
having me. I appreciate you. This was fun. I appreciate you.
Cool. And so, fam, that's a wrap on this episode of Brave Voices in Education. If it spoke to you, share this cup of courage with your people, your staff, your village. And if you're ready to go deeper into this work of leading with courage and care, DM us Brave Voices, and we will gift you a link to a free gift from us as well as an invitation to join the Fall 2025 Brave Leadership Accelerator. Until next time, y'all, love your boldness, love being whole, love your brave, love being you for 10 minutes in the mirror. I'll catch y'all soon on the next one. Y'all take care.